This is my Razor Crazy Cart, and I'm sure you've seen these all over TikTok and Instagram. So when you inevitably get one of them, you're gonna need to know how to change a tire on one of them. So today I got you guys with that. So first things first, we gotta flip this bad boy over because this tire change is infinitely easier if you have access to these two axle bolts right here. So we're gonna go ahead and get my tools and unbolt those. You're gonna need a wrench and a 17mm socket on a ratchet, and then we'll just loosen her up. There we go. Be sure to keep these little washers safe when you guys do remove the dome nuts. Keep them in a safe spot. I always like, because I have the cart upside down, to just lay them on the sides accordingly. That way you can put everything back together nice and properly, right, when you put the new tire back on. Next, we're gonna slide this axle out here. A little wiggle, she comes right off. Again, I like to keep everything on the cart, so I set that right there. We'll take these little spacers out, again, organizing them to their sides. Boop. Unroll the chain off of the gear. It looks like mine needs to be clean. That thing's like red. All right, so now we've got the wheel off, so we're gonna go ahead and take the gear off using the 8mm wrench. Next, what you're gonna wanna do is undo the valve cap and just let a little bit of air out of this. That way the bolts are easier to undo on the other side. Look, she's better fart. So now we're gonna go ahead and start loosening these bolts up now that we got some air out. Now that all 4 bolts are out, you should just notice these rim caps just come off like that. And you'll notice this little upgrade I have, this 3D printed piece that sits in the center of my wheel hub. And you just drop that center spacer in there, and that way when you put the wheel on the fork when it's all assembled, you're not fighting with the axle or breaking stuff, mashing it in and lining it up. So now we're just reassembling the wheel. If you guys couldn't already tell, this process is super easy. One thing I always forget is the center spacer piece, so please plop this in now so you don't have to go back in later and fix it. We're gonna throw the top rim back on here and just line up the inner tube notch right there with the bottom rim. Got our rim bolts in. Now we're gonna put our gear back on. Now we gotta fill this puppy up. I like to run my tires at 45 PSI, but literally anyone you ask is gonna tell you something different, so just experiment and see what you like. Now we gotta get this bad boy on the fork. So we're gonna loop the chain onto the wheel. We're gonna smush our spacers in here to hold the wheel steady while we get the rest of the stuff lined up. After we know those spacers are sitting snug and steady, we're gonna grab our axle and push it right through. However, a little pro tip from the pro himself, grab a little bit of grease and rub this thing all over your axle. It's gonna make it glide a lot smoother. Oh yeah, rub that boy up. Now we're just gonna try and get this guy through the first spacer, through the center, through the last spacer, and then out the other end. Now we're gonna get the rest of our hardware on and tighten those dome nuts down that we took off in the first step. Flat washer first, then lock washer. And now this is kind of important. I like to put both of the dome nuts on at the same time and just start hand tightening them evenly. That way when we go and crush them down, there's enough axle space that's even on both of the sides of the wheel. Bam! Last and final step, we gotta get this chain rolled on. So easy tip, start at the back, get it on, and then just roll your tire with your hand and it'll do the work for you. It's super easy. Now we'll just get a little bit of cart ASMR, turn that bad baby on. Oh yeah, she runs. Follow for more if you guys wanna see more Crazy Cart content.